I said, guess who's back? Man, guess who's back? I said, guess who's back? What's going on, guys? Welcome to Backchat TV. So we're going to get straight into this discussion about the heavyweight landscape at the moment with the emergence of Joyce. And as you can see, I'm playing devil's advocate, but I am basically postulating the idea that Joyce is the best heavyweight in the world. Could he be the best heavyweight in the world? He's got a shot just like everyone. He's definitely a dark horse. But the reason why I focused on Joyce specifically is because he's one of the only fighters who I personally have massively underestimated. And I hold my hands up to this. If Joyce is listening to this video by any chance, he probably isn't, but if he is, or he gets wind of it, I actually owe Joyce a complete apology, because videos I made in the past, many years ago, which I actually took down, I didn't have anything nice to say about Joyce, to be honest. When I first saw him fighting, this was before he fought Usyk in the amateurs. And then prior to that, I didn't think anything special about him. I thought he was just a big, strong guy. He was very slow. To me, this is initially looking at him, I thought he was very slow. He kind of punches as if he's kind of punching underwater, like punching in slow motion. He seems extremely slow, no head movement, very kind of plodding mechanics, body mechanics. You know, everything he does is slow. He's slow to punch. He's slow to get his hands back to his chin. Bad defense, slow foot movement. And basically, I didn't see anything special about him apart from being, 6'6" or whatever he is, and just basically a huge door frame of a man. Yeah, that was the only thing. I didn't even think he had power, to be honest. A lot of his punches looked slapping, which actually, what's the guy's name? Zhang, who he's going to face, actually said that he looks like he slaps and was kind of laughing at his technique. And these are some of the thoughts I thought about him. Now, what changed my mind? Well, first of all, unfortunately, I lost money. That's what happened. I put a bet on Daniel Dubois to beat Joyce. Now, I was talking with all of my friends, and we all talk about boxing and sports in general, and a lot of my friends were actually a lot more clued up than I was. They were saying, no, Joyce has got a chance. They think that Joyce might beat Dubois. And I was completely adamant that there was no chance that he could beat Dubois. This is when the hype was behind Dubois. He was knocking people out. He's big. He looked fast. He looked strong. Great punching power. This is Daniel Dubois I'm talking about. Fast feet for a big man. And he looked like he was going to blow through everyone. And I thought, just like a lot of people, he's an amazing prospect. He's going to destroy Joyce. Joyce is everything that Dubois isn't. He's the total opposite. Dubois is fast feet, fast hands. Joyce is slow feet, slow hands. You know what I mean? So how does it beat? There's no chance that Joyce can beat someone like Daniel Dubois. This is what I was thinking. The only thing I did factor into it was experience, because Joyce has a lot of experience. He's 37 years old. And he's been, in the Olympics. He had a lot of fights, amateur fights. He actually gave Alexander Usyk quite a good fight, but at the time I thought it was just because he was a bigger man, and Alexander Usyk actually gave him a boxing lesson in the amateurs. But when they did fight, I lost my money. But even more importantly than losing my money, I realized that Joyce is not exactly what you see, with the eye test. It's not what it says on the tin, if you know what I mean. There are some subtle things, and there are definitely some intangibles that Joyce has that many of the other heavyweights do not have. And that's what I started to see with him. So he doesn't have really fast hands, but he has good timing. He doesn't have really fast feet, but he knows how to cut off the ring. One thing I see with Joyce, which I didn't see before, which I think a lot of people don't think, that's why they don't think he's a good fighter, is because he forces you to deal with his size and his weight and things like that. Just the sheer size of him, he forces you to deal with that. And there's a lot of other fighters who are also big men, like Anthony Joshua, and let's talk about Anthony Joshua in comparison to Joe Joyce. Anthony Joshua doesn't fight like a big man. Although he's a big man, he doesn't force his opponents to deal with his size as well as his boxing skills. He tends to. The difference between them is, I've seen Anthony Joshua's more athletic. He wants to kind of get in position before he lets off his combinations. And if you are, a decent fighter who doesn't set your feet and is strong enough to kind of get him off you, Anthony Joshua, and move, Anthony Joshua kind of gets in a bit of a stalemate where he doesn't throw his hands. And the reason why he doesn't throw his hands is because he's waiting for that opportunity. But he doesn't create that opportunity like the way Joe Joyce does. Joe Joyce goes forward, cuts off the ring, forces you to deal, gets right in front of you, forces you to deal with his size. He often throws jabs which are not aimed to kind of knock you out or hurt necessarily, but sometimes to close the distance and to force you to work. So he'll throw a jab so that you have to deal with his jab while he's moving in, and then you haven't got time to get out of the way. You've got to deal with the punch that he's thrown at you, and then by the time you get your hands up, he's already closed the distance. Whereas if that was Anthony Joshua is waiting for you to be in position so he can throw a clean shot that he can hit you with. Whereas Joe Joyce doesn't really care about clean shots. He just wants to throw non-stop punches to the body, punches to the head, forcing you to deal with his shots. And even if you can't move out the way as he's coming in and you have to kind of tuck up or counter, he'll even eat a shot coming in. But once he's in there, he's right in your face, and then you have to deal with the full force of all of his many punches and just his weight and just him being in front of you. And the scary thing about it is Joe Joyce has refined his skill. So where he does that and put you under pressure and close off your exit, he's also slipping shots now and using head movement, which he never used to have before. So now he's moving his head, he's slipping off the center line, and he's pressurizing you, and he's getting you in the corner, and he's forcing you to deal with his shots. He's forcing you to work all the time. And most people, he's always going forward, and most people you see just moving around the ring trying to evade his presence, because he fights like a big man. The only other heavyweight I see that can do that may be Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is the only fighter who I think Joe Joyce will struggle with, because, he's going to struggle with all the top fighters. But the reason why I say that is I believe that Tyson Fury is the best fighter in the world. And the reason why is because he's the most balanced. He can do everything. Same thing with Floyd Mayweather as a welterweight. There was nothing in particular that made him exceptional. It was just, he's just brilliant at everything. And that's what I think about Tyson Fury in a way. He is great on the back foot, great in the clinch, close up, mid-range, good footwork. He can also maul you a little bit. He's good at, when he gets tough, he's good at using his size. He leans on you. He fights a little bit dirty. He really makes it very physical. And, at 6'9", anyone who makes it physical, anyone is just going to have a difficult time with him because of these things. Joe Joyce is a little bit like that, but slightly different. His is more the output, the sheer output he puts out. If you want to avoid him and move around the ring and try and jab and keep him at distance because you think he's got slow feet, you have to deal with the constant punches he's throwing at you. And his punches are accurate, they're timed well. He always follows them up, and he's quite a nightmare, deceivingly dangerous fighter. And I noticed this in two recent fights of Joe Joyce. One, the fight where I lost a lot of money, Daniel Dubois. It wasn't a lot of money, but I lost money on Daniel Dubois, where he was very accurate with the jab. He was countering over Daniel Dubois' jab, and caught him with quite an innocuous shot. It looked like a shot that wasn't that particularly powerful, but Joe Joyce didn't want to know anymore. He definitely has heavy hands, Joe Joyce, because it doesn't look like he's punching hard. But if you watch the fight against Parker, you can see he's clearly punching hard. The thing that kind of shocked me was Anthony Joshua couldn't stop Joe Parker, but Joe Joyce could. Now, why is that? Joe Joyce looks slower, he looks less athletic, he looks all sorts of things that, like, Anthony Joshua looks like he does have. So why was he able to get this devastating knockout against someone like Parker, who I actually rate as a fighter? And it's for the things that I was saying. Joe Joyce has this technique, these intangibles that other fighters don't have, and that's what he did to Parker. Parker was actually fighting quite well, hitting Joe Joyce with some good shots, but Joyce kind of stays behind the jab, and he does evade some heavy shots, although he does eat some shots. But when he eats a few of those shots, he is also taking away your real estate at the same time. He's coming forward, he's cornering you, he's forcing you to deal with his work rate, he's forcing you to deal with his constant punches. He also forces the pace. You often notice that he looks a bit slow, but it's kind of deliberate. He doesn't kind of like try and get you out of there with hard punches like maybe Anthony Joshua might try. Anthony Joshua is more likely to see an opening and then unleash powerful, fast shots, whereas Joe Joyce kind of slowly turns up the heat and cooks his opponents slowly. And I think the opponents actually get shocked because it just starts to get very difficult. He keeps advancing. He keeps throwing shots, light shots. They're not really that heavy, although he's a big man, so all his shots are heavy. But as he starts to hit you, and as you start to get tired, as we saw in the Parker fight, he starts to turn up the power on his punches, and eventually he gets to you, and his timing just seals the deal. And as we saw with Parker, that was an amazing knockout. It's not like it came out of nowhere, but he was just really breaking him down in a way that I've never seen Parker broken down. Andy Louise couldn't break him down like that. Dillian White couldn't break down Parker like that. Anthony Joshua, as we said, went to a decision with Parker. So what has Joe Joyce got that these other fighters don't have? Definitely, like I said, he's definitely underestimated. I feel like he could get to the very top, and he could even give Tyson Fury all the trouble in the world and beat Tyson Fury, because we've never seen Tyson Fury put under the kind of pressure that someone like Joe Joyce would put him under. Deontay Wilder, the fear factor with Deontay Wilder is that he's just got that extremely powerful right hand, and you just have to be ready for it. It's like dynamite. If you can deal with that, which Tyson Fury could, then there's nothing else to deal with. But with Joe Joyce, there's his constant output, his pressure, and all sorts of things. His timing, and you have to deal with just physically being a big, strong man and pushing you in the corner. It's just very hard to deal with. Possible improvements I could see with Joe Joyce would be he could use his size a little bit more, especially in the clinch. When fighters kind of lose real estate and they get punched into the corner by Joe Joyce, sometimes they look to kind of hug and hold, and that's an opportunity for Joe Joyce to actually use his weight and size to kind of lean on his opponents. But he doesn't do that. He doesn't do it that much. He tends to kind of, break free and go back to his punching. So he doesn't really use his weight in that way. Whereas Tyson Fury would kind of maul you from close range. So I do think that that's something that Joe Joyce could improve on. But at the moment, it looks as if he's going to be a nightmare for a lot of these fighters before he retires. He's 37 now. He's got the up and coming fight with the Chinese boxer heavyweight Zhang. Looking forward to that fight. I want to see how impressive Joe Joyce is going to be in that fight, because he doesn't initially look explosive, but like I said, he turns up the heat and he often gets a stoppage at the end. He's more of a long distance runner, a long distance boxer, if you see what I mean. The sheer power and size, it starts to kind of weigh on his opponents over time. He's not really like an explosive one punch knockout kind of artist. Against Zhang, I think faster hands maybe. He's going to be moving around. He's going to think he's more athletic. like everybody does when they watch Joyce, and then Zhang's going to find out the hard way that there's a lot more to him. And I really want to see how Zhang's going to deal with these slapping punches, because he actually said that Joyce is, slapping, and he didn't really rate Joyce that much, but I think he's going to find out the hard way. Those slapping punches, first of all, they have a lot of weight to them, and they do damage, and he doesn't stop punching like that. And then once you start getting tired, which you will, because Joyce has actually got a great gas tank as well, and once you start to succumb to his pressure, he starts to turn up the power and starts punching properly. And his timing can be very vicious, as we saw with Parker and Dubois. So looking forward to the fight with Zhang. I'm going to edge Joyce for the first time in his career. I think Joyce gets it done in the 8th round. 7th or 8th round against Zhang. Zhang may even get tired before that, to be honest. Between 6 and 8, I think Joyce gets it done. Let me know what you think of what I've said and the points I've raised in this video. Maybe you're not so enthusiastic about Joyce. You think that he can't go much further than he is now, or you think he can go to the very top and challenge the very best. How do you think he'd do against Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, Deontay Wilder, and Andy Ruiz? Let me know in the comments. I'm on to the next one.
So guess who's back?
If you enjoyed the video today, please don't forget to like, share, leave a comment, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.